Hey you guys, good evening. It's what time is it? Late-ish. I think it's around like 6 or 7 in the evening on the 13th. So this is my second time recording today. But I was reading in Matthew. I had an opportunity to read some this evening, and I was reading where Jesus says in Matthew 5:20, "But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." And so you're all, and so you might be wondering, well, how can my righteousness be better than the Pharisees? And what I think Jesus was saying is that it has to be a heart thing. Like, it has to be like your righteousness, your desire to follow God's mandates, to be a person after God's own heart is more than technicality. Because then after he says this, in Matthew, he goes on to teach about anger, and to teach about adultery, and to teach about divorce, and to teach about vows, and to teach about revenge, and to teach about love for your enemies, and to teach about giving to the needy, and to teach about money and possessions, and all of these different teachings that he has. He's saying, you have heard the letter of the law, but I'm saying in order for you to actually apply this law, you would have to do this. So you have heard, like when he teaches about anger, he says, you have heard, or you have heard that your ancestors were told, you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. So he's saying, even if you don't actually commit murder, even if you don't actually touch the unclean thing, if you even go there in your heart, then you've sinned. Okay, so he's saying it's a heart condition. It's not about what you can. It's like, I think it's Paul who teaches about this somewhere in the New Testament. I've read it before, but I haven't like read it, just recently. So I don't know. I can't like quote it exactly or whatever. But he's all like, it's not about like, don't touch this, don't eat that. It's about your heart. It's about your heart being turned towards Jesus. So it's not like, oh, don't commit murder. It's about having the right heart posture towards Jesus. Like, Jesus teaches that we're supposed to forgive one another so that our heavenly Father may forgive us. And then like when you think, and then when it's talking about not even being angry with someone in your heart, I put Matthew chapter 18. What is this? I think it's 34, when it's the parable of the master and the servant who owes the master some debt, and the master forgives the servant his debt because the servant begs. But then when the servant who just got forgiven his debt, when he comes across a servant who owes him some money, he doesn't forgive him, and he has him thrown into prison. And he's all, you're going to be there until you pay me the last penny. And so when the master finds out about it, he's all like, you wicked and evil servant, since you didn't show the same kindness that I showed you, I'm going to treat you the same way that you treated your fellow servant. So, what was the point of that? Oh, because, when he's, sorry, you guys, when Jesus is teaching about anger, that's how he ends his teaching about anger. He says, and if that happens, you surely won't be free again until you have paid the last penny. And he's saying, if you start doing tit for tat, if you start holding each other accountable for absolutely, if you keep a list of wrongdoings and you hold one another accountable to it, it's it's not going to end, and it's not going to end well for anyone involved. It's not going to end well. And so I think it's not about a tit for tat exchange with God and with the law. It's not about that. It's not. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Just rubbed my eye about that. My eye like that. It was itchy. But it's not about technicalities. Like something that for me that came to mind is there's this one Christian influencer that I have followed, and she was all like, oh well, and I don't know if she actually said it because I didn't finish the video, but someone implied in the comments that she was teaching, oh well, it's okay to masturbate because technically I can do it without lusting. And I'm all like, whether it's okay to masturbate or not, that's between you and God. I don't know. I haven't reached a conclusion where I'm all like, I don't, that's between you and God. But what got me was the ideal of it being okay based on a technicality, because now that I know that's not how it works. It's not about, oh well, technically this is allowed. It shouldn't be about a technicality. Like your relationship and your concept of righteousness it shouldn't be based on, well, this is okay technically. Like why do you have to qualify it with a, like, why? Like, you have to ask yourself, why do you have to play with fire by me being all like, well, technically it's okay. Why can't it just be okay? You know what I mean? Like, is it okay or is it not? Because like Jesus says, like he lists a whole bunch of positive traits, and I can't think like off the top of my head what they are, but he's all like, kind of, I'm just listing stuff that I know, that's approved of, kindness, mercy, forgiveness. Against such things, there is no law. You don't have to be like, well, technically, it's okay for me to be nice. You know what I mean? Technically, it's okay if I forgive you. Obviously, it's okay. Obviously, and so, and I think that's the thing, when Jesus all like, your righteousness has to be greater than that of the Pharisees. And it's all like, but the Pharisees are obviously righteous. They're obviously righteous. And it's like, but they were obviously technically righteous. The point of their righteousness, like Jesus says, was to be seen by men. But Jesus also says, we are the salt of the earth. We are like a light placed on a hill, on a hilltop. We are like a lamp in a house that gives light to the whole house. Who lights something and then puts it under a bushel. We're supposed to be seen. It's supposed to be obvious. So, for people who don't understand, it's like it can be confusing, because like, surely I am supposed to be obviously righteous, just like the Pharisees. And it's like, yes, your righteousness should be obvious, but because no one can deny it, it's undeniable. No one is all like, well, technically there, it's not about BS. It's not about BS. It's not about, it's not like lawyers debating the finer points of the law. That's not what it's about. Like Jesus makes it very, he's like, this is very clear. It's very clear. And he says, he likens believers to children. People who have to be totally dependent on God. People who don't have the mind to argue back and forth with God. You know what I mean? Like, well, technically, don't play that. You know? Now, if you don't feel convicted about something, that's between you and God. But you don't have to you don't have to play. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't you don't have to play around. Technically, I mean, and as a person who has been a child and thought like a child, I can hear it now. Like thinking why it's okay for you to disobey your parents because technically you're not doing what they said don't do. So technically, I'm not killing anyone. I'm not committing adultery. I'm holding. I'm doing what's well within my right, technically. So yeah, but thinking about that makes me think about the parable of the master going out to seek workers for his field, and he's all like, well, isn't it within my right to do with my money what I want to do? So you just have to read the entire Bible and pray and try to get an understanding. Because I, like I said, I'm rereading the Gospel of Matthew before I move on to the other Gospels. And there's just so much stuff. But yeah, technically it's not going to save you from hellfire. Are feeling guilty, are reaping the wages of poor decisions.